Caleb Thornton's fist crashed through the restaurant's back door. Inside that freezing shack, a woman knelt on dirt floor dividing half-eaten biscuits between two hollow-eyed children. The little boy pushed his portion toward his sister. The girl pushed it back. Neither one ate. "Get your things," Caleb said, voice breaking. "You're coming home with me. Tonight." Before we continue this story, hit that subscribe button and stay until the end. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. Nud. Caleb Thornton stood in the alley behind Murphy's restaurant, December wind cutting through his coat like a knife. He'd come to town for supplies, nothing more. 3 years alone on his ranch had taught him to keep his head down, do his business, get out. But something stopped him cold. Through the cracked boards of the storage shack, he saw her. The woman knelt on frozen ground, her back straight despite everything. 2 children huddled close, their breath visible in the cold. On the dirt floor between them sat a chipped plate, half a biscuit, some gristle from someone's leftover steak, a handful of beans. The little boy, couldn't be more than 7, picked up his piece of biscuit. His hands shook. Not from cold, from hunger. "Emma, you take it?" he said, voice small. "You're smaller. You need it more." "No, Danny." The girl pushed it back. "Mama said you're growing. Boys need more. Both of you eat." The woman's voice stayed steady, but her hands clenched in her lap. "We'll manage. We always manage." None of them ate. Caleb's chest tightened. He knew that kind of hunger. Knew what it did to people. To children. He'd watched his baby sister fade from it back in '79 after the bank took everything. Before he was old enough to stop it. Before he understood that sometimes keeping your pride means losing everything else. He didn't knock, just pushed the door open. All 3 of them startled the woman moving fast to shield her children behind her skirts. "Get out!" She lifted her chin. "We're not bothering anyone." "Ma'am, We don't need charity. We don't need pity. Just leave us alone." Caleb took off his hat, looked at those children's faces, looked at the plate on the ground, looked at the woman's threadbare coat, her cracked boots, her hands red and raw from washing dishes in water, too hot in winter, too cold. "What's your name?" he asked. "That's none of your concern." "Eleanor Hayes." Murphy's voice came from behind Caleb, the restaurant owner, standing in his doorway. "Husband died in the mine collapse. Left her with debts. She works for scraps. It's all she's worth." Caleb turned slow. "You feed your dog better than you feed this woman. She's lucky I give her anything. Her husband was a thief. Everyone knows it. Money he owed folks just disappeared. Now his widow expects us to—" "How much?" "What? How much did he owe?" Caleb stepped closer. "Total." Murphy's eyes narrowed. $300. But she'll never—" Caleb reached into his coat, pulled out a leather pouch, started counting bills onto the ground between them. 20, 40, 60. "What are you doing?" Eleanor whispered. He didn't answer, just kept counting. 100, 150, 200. "Stop." Eleanor's voice cracked. "Stop. I can't accept this. I won't." "It's not for you." Caleb laid down the last bill. 300 exactly. "It's for them." He looked at Murphy. "Her debt's paid. Full. You got witnesses here." He raised his voice. "Anyone who heard Murphy say 300? 3 men stood in the alley now. 1 nodded. "Heard it clear." "Good." Caleb picked up his hat, turned to Eleanor. "Get your things. You're coming home with me. I don't even know you. Name's Caleb Thornton. I ranch 15 miles north. Got a house with 4 bedrooms, a kitchen with a stove that works, food in the pantry, and nobody there eating scraps off dirty plates. I'm not your charity case. Didn't say you were." He pulled off his coat, held it out to Emma. The little girl looked at her mother, uncertain. "Cold's coming in hard tonight. Supposed to drop below 0. You planning to keep these children in this shack? Eleanor's jaw worked. Her eyes shone wet in the dim light, but no tears fell. Why would you do this? You don't know me. Don't know what they say about me. About my husband. About... I know those children are hungry. Caleb's voice came rough. I know that's not your fault. I know this town's decided you don't deserve basic human decency. And I know I can't walk away from this. Danny stepped forward, small hand gripping his mother's dress. Mama, I'm cold. Something broke in Eleanor's face, just for a second. Then she straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin. We have very little to bring. Then it won't take long to pack. 20 minutes later, they sat in Caleb's wagon. Eleanor beside him on the bench, both children bundled in the back under every blanket Caleb owned. The supplies he'd bought sat beside them, along with one small trunk, a broken rocking chair, and a carpet bag holding everything this family owned in the world. Snow started falling as they left town. Big, heavy flakes that clung to the horses' manes and turned the world white. It's 15 miles, Eleanor asked, voice tight. Closer to 18 in this weather. If we get stuck. We won't. But an hour out, the wind picked up. Caleb leaned forward, squinting through snow so thick he could barely see the horses. The temperature dropped fast. Behind them, he heard Emma coughing. Heard Danny trying to quiet her. How much further? Eleanor's hands clutched the seat. Maybe 10 miles, maybe 12. Hard to say in this. They pushed on. The horses struggled breaking trail through deepening drifts. Caleb's face went numb. His hands ached on his reins. Beside him, Eleanor shivered despite the blanket around her shoulders. Then the wagon lurched sideways. Caleb pulled back hard on the reins. Whoa, whoa. What happened? He climbed down boots sinking into snow past his knees, walked around to the right side. The wheel had dropped into a washout hidden under the snow. The axle sat at a bad angle, the wheel itself cracked straight through. Can you fix it? Eleanor called down. Caleb looked at the wheel, looked at the storm, looked at how much daylight remained. Not here, not in this weather, not before dark. Then what do we walk. Eleanor stared at him. It's 10 miles, in a blizzard, with children who... You got a better idea. He reached up, lifted Danny down from the wagon. The boy weighed nothing, just bones and skin and worn-out clothes. We stay here, we freeze. Simple as that. He grabbed 2 blankets, wrapped one around Danny, one around Emma. Pulled his coat tight, started unhitching the horses. What are you doing? Eleanor climbed down. Can't leave them tied to a broken wagon. They'll panic in the storm, kill themselves trying to get free. He slapped both horses on the rump. They took off through the snow, heading back toward town. Smart animals. They'd find shelter. Now we don't have horses. Eleanor's voice stayed level, but fear edged it now. Now they'll survive, which is more than we will if we don't start moving. He lifted Danny onto his shoulders. Hold on tight, son. Don't let go no matter what. Eleanor picked up Emma, wrapping her in blankets. The little girl buried her face against her mother's neck. Which way? Eleanor asked. Caleb pointed into white nothing. That way. Stay close to me. You fall behind, you freeze. Understand? I understand. They walked into the storm. The cold hit like a physical thing, wind screaming around them, snow driving horizontal, cutting any exposed skin. Caleb bent into it, one hand holding Danny's legs to keep him secure. The other stretched out ahead, searching for the fence line that marked his property. Behind him, Eleanor struggled forward. He could hear her breathing hard and fast. Could hear Emma coughing between gasps. Talk to me, he called back. Don't go quiet. About what? Eleanor's voice shook. Anything, just so I know you're there. Silence for a dozen steps. Then, "Why did you really do this?" "Told you. Couldn't walk away." "That's not a reason. That's an excuse." Caleb pushed forward, thighs burning with effort. "Lost my sister when I was 15. She was 8. We'd lost everything. Farm cattle, everything. My parents tried to make it work. They couldn't. Winter came hard. Food ran out. My sister just faded. Got quieter every day. Until one morning she didn't wake up." He heard Eleanor's breath catch. "After that, my parents gave up too. Different ways, same result. I ended up alone by 17. Worked other people's ranches until I saved enough to buy my own place. Built it up from nothing. Got married. Got happy." His voice went flat. "Then I lost her too." "How?" "Childbirth. 3 years back. Baby didn't make it either. Son. Would have been 3 years old now if—" He stopped. Couldn't finish. "I'm sorry," Eleanor said softly. "Don't need sorry. Just need to keep moving." They walked on. The world disappeared into white noise and white nothing. Caleb's legs felt like lead. His lungs burned. Danny's weight pressed down on his shoulders, but he'd carry this boy through hell before he'd let another child die in the cold. "There." He pointed ahead. "See that?" "I don't see anything." "Fence post. We're on my land now. Maybe 4 more miles." "4 miles?" Eleanor's voice broke. "I can't." "Yes, you can. For them you can." Whoa. She didn't argue, just bent her head and pushed forward. Another hour passed. Maybe 2. Time lost meaning in the storm. The world became nothing but the next step. And the next. And the next. Danny started crying quietly on Caleb's shoulders. "I'm cold." "I know, son, I know. Not much further now." "My fingers hurt." "That's good. Means they're still working. When they stop hurting, that's when we worry." Behind them, Eleanor stumbled. Went down to one knee. Emma cried out. Caleb turned back, helped Eleanor up. Her face had gone white, lips blue. "Can't feel my feet." "Don't stop. You stop, you die. Both of you die. You want that?" "No." "Then move." Something in his voice cut through her exhaustion. She straightened, adjusted Emma in her arms, started walking again. "Talk to me," Caleb said. "Tell me about your husband." "Why? Need to hear your voice. Need to know you're still conscious." Eleanor was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, "Michael was a good man, not perfect, but good. He worked hard, loved his children. We were happy." Her voice cracked. "Then the mine collapsed. Killed 17 men. Michael was one of them. The debt he left. I don't know where it came from. He handled our money. I trusted him. After he died, men started coming around demanding payment, saying he owed them from business deals, mining investments. I had nothing to give them, nothing to sell. The house went first, then our furniture, then everything else. We ended up in that shack behind Murphy's. I washed dishes, took in laundry, did anything I could. But it was never enough." "What did the town say?" Her laugh came bitter. "That I knew about the debts. That I probably helped him steal the money. That I was just as much a thief as he was. Women I'd called friends crossed the street to avoid me. The pastor asked me not to come to church anymore, said my presence upset people." Her voice went hard. "So I stopped trying, stopped asking for help, stopped expecting human decency." "That why you didn't want to come with me? Would you, if some stranger showed up, paid off debts you didn't know the truth of, demanded, you uproot your children and follow him into a blizzard? Fair point. But here we are anyway." Eleanor stumbled again, caught herself. "Because I'm a terrible mother who'd rather risk freezing to death than watch my children starve slowly." "You're a good mother doing impossible things." That's what terrible mothers tell themselves. Caleb didn't argue, just pointed ahead. There. See the light. Through the snow, faint and golden, a window glowed. His house. Home. We made it, Eleanor whispered. Not yet. Keep moving. The last quarter mile took forever, each step harder than the last. But finally they reached the porch. Caleb set Danny down, pushed open the door. Heat rushed out to meet them. Inside, quickly. Eleanor stumbled through the door, Emma still in her arms. Danny followed, legs barely holding him. Caleb came last, shutting the door against the storm's fury. For a long moment nobody moved. They just stood there, dripping snow and ice, breathing hard, alive. Then Danny's legs gave out. He collapsed. Caleb caught him before he hit the floor. Get them by the fire, Caleb said, carrying Danny to the hearth. We need to warm them up slow. Too fast it'll hurt worse than the cold. Eleanor set Emma down near the growing fire. The little girl's lips were blue, her hands white. Danny looked even worse, barely conscious. Caleb grabbed blankets, wrapped both children tight. Their fingers and toes we need to check for frostbite. Eleanor was already pulling off Danny's boots, peeling away wet socks. His toes were red, maybe purple at the tips, but no black spots, no dead tissue. Think he's okay? She said, voice shaking. Emma. They checked Emma's feet next. Same thing. Red, maybe purple, but alive. They'll be okay, Caleb said. We got here in time. Eleanor looked up at him, mascara running down her cheeks, hair plastered to her face, clothes soaked through. You saved their lives. We saved their lives. You carried Emma that whole way. You didn't stop, didn't give up. I almost did. Almost doesn't count. She nodded, turning back to her children. Danny had already fallen asleep by the fire. Emma's eyes drooped. Eleanor gathered her daughter close, rocking slightly. There's bedrooms upstairs, Caleb said. Once they're warm, we should get them into dry clothes, into real beds. I don't have dry clothes for them. Everything we owned was in that wagon. I got things that'll work. Shirts, socks. They'll swim in them, but they'll be warm. He disappeared upstairs, came back with an armload of clothes. Together they changed both children into dry things. Danny barely woke. Emma smiled sleepily at her mother. Is this heaven, Mama? Eleanor's face crumpled. No baby, just somewhere warm. It feels like heaven. Caleb carried Danny upstairs to one of the bedrooms. Eleanor followed with Emma. They laid both children in the same bed under quilts that smelled like cedar and soap. Within minutes, both were deeply asleep. Back downstairs, Eleanor stood by the fire, still in her wet clothes, shivering. You need to change too, Caleb said. I don't have anything dry. He brought her one of his shirts, a pair of wool socks. Bathroom's through there. My wife's dresses are still upstairs. Tomorrow you can see if any of them fit. Tonight, this'll have to do. Eleanor took the clothes, disappeared into the bathroom. Caleb heard the door lock. Good. She should lock doors, should protect herself, even here. He made coffee, strong and black. When Eleanor emerged wearing his shirt like a dress, her hair wet but clean, he handed her a cup. Thank you, she said quietly. They sat at the kitchen table. The storm howled outside. Inside, the fire crackled. Two exhausted people who'd almost died sat drinking coffee, not talking, just existing in the same space. Why? Eleanor asked finally. Told you. Couldn't walk away. That's still not a real answer. Caleb stared into his coffee. When my sister died, nobody helped us. Town knew we were struggling. They knew we had nothing. But my father had debts too, had made bad choices, so they decided we deserved what we got. Decided his mistakes meant his children should starve. He looked up at her. I watched her die, watched my parents break. And I swore that if I ever had the means, I'd never let that happen to someone else. Never let children pay for their parents' mistakes. So this is guilt. This is keeping a promise to an 8-year-old girl who died hungry. Eleanor's eyes filled. She blinked hard, but one tear escaped. I don't know how to accept this kind of help. Then don't call it help. Call it something else. What? Second chance, fresh start, whatever makes you able to stay. She nodded slowly. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow we see if the storm's passed. Send someone for the wagon. Get your things. Then we figure out the rest. The town's going to talk. Let them talk. You don't understand. They'll say terrible things. They'll assume. I know what they'll assume. Don't care. Your business will suffer. Your reputation. My reputation's fine. Anyone who matters knows my character. Anyone who doesn't matter can think what they want. Eleanor shook her head. You're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. She almost smiled. Almost. I should check on the children. You should get some sleep. It's near midnight. You're exhausted. They're safe, warm, fed. Nothing's going to happen to them tonight. I just need to see them. Then we'll both go. They climbed the stairs together. In the bedroom, both children slept peacefully, color back in their faces, breathing deep and even. Eleanor stood in the doorway just watching them. I thought we were going to die, she whispered. In that storm. I thought I'd brought them out here just to freeze to death in the snow. But you didn't. Because of you. Because you kept walking. Because you didn't give up. Because you're stronger than you know. She turned to look at him. I'm not strong. I'm terrified. I've been terrified for a year. Every day wondering if this is the day my children finally starve. If this is the day I can't find enough scraps to keep them alive. If this is the day I fail them completely. But you didn't fail them. You kept them alive. Against impossible odds you kept them breathing. That's not weakness. That's strength. Eleanor's face crumpled. The tears came then silent and steady. Caleb stood awkwardly unsure what to do. He'd never been good at this. With Rebecca, he'd known how to hold her, how to comfort her. But Rebecca was gone, and this woman was a stranger. But she was also the woman who'd carried her daughter through a blizzard, who'd kept walking when anyone else would have stopped, who'd held her head high while the town spit on her. He put a hand on her shoulder. Just that. She turned into it, pressed her face against his chest and sobbed. Great racking sobs that shook her whole body, years of fear and shame and exhaustion pouring out. Caleb just stood there. Let her cry. Didn't tell her to stop. Didn't tell her it would be okay. Just let her feel what she needed to feel. Eventually the tears slowed. Stopped. She pulled back, wiping her face. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have... It's fine. It's not fine. I don't even know you. I have no right to... You have every right. You've been through hell. You're allowed to break sometimes. She nodded, looking away. I should sleep. There's a bedroom across the hall. Fresh sheets on the bed. Door locks from inside. You don't need to. Yes, I do. You're safe here. But you should feel safe. Lock means you control who comes in. That matters. Eleanor looked at him for a long moment. You're different than I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone who wanted something in return. Someone with conditions. No conditions. No expectations. You need time to figure things out. You got it. You need to leave in a month, you can leave. This isn't a cage. It's just shelter. Why are you like this? Caleb shrugged. Lost too many people to be anything else. She nodded. Started toward the bedroom across the hall. Stopped. Caleb. Yeah. Thank you. For my children's lives. You're welcome. She disappeared into the bedroom. He heard the door lock. Good. Caleb stood in the hallway for a moment, then went downstairs. The fire needed tending. The house needed settling. And he needed to figure out what the hell he'd just done. He'd brought a woman and 2 children into his home. Into his life. The town was going to crucify him for it. His business would suffer. His few remaining friends would distance themselves, and he didn't care. Because upstairs 2 children slept warm and safe, and that mattered more than anything else. He added wood to the fire, made sure the doors were locked, checked the windows, old habits from years of living alone, protecting what little he had left. Then he settled into the chair by the fire. The chair he'd sat in for 3 years alone, grieving. The chair that had become a kind of prison. Tonight it felt different. The house felt different. Felt alive again. Felt like maybe, just maybe, he'd done something right for the first time in 3 years. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, 4 people slept under one roof. 4 people who'd almost died. Who'd saved each other. Who'd survived. Tomorrow would bring its own problems. The town's judgment. The logistics of 4 people living in a house built for 1. The questions about what this was, what it meant, where it was going. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight they were safe, warm, alive. And for Caleb Thornton, who'd spent 3 years in frozen grief, that felt like enough. The fire crackled. The wind howled. And somewhere upstairs, a little boy slept without hunger for the first time in months. Caleb closed his eyes, listened to the storm, and allowed himself something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Morning light filtered through frost-covered windows. Caleb woke in the chair by the fire neck, stiff back aching. The storm had passed some time before dawn, leaving the world buried in white silence. He stood, stretched, added wood to the dying fire. Coffee. He needed coffee. And then he needed to figure out what happened next. The smell of brewing coffee filled the kitchen. Caleb stood at the stove, watching steam rise from the pot when footsteps creaked on the stairs. He turned. Eleanor stood in the doorway, still wearing his shirt, her hair loose around her shoulders. "Morning," he said. "Morning." She looked around the kitchen, uncertain. I can make breakfast, if you have food. Pantry's through there. Help yourself to whatever you find." She disappeared into the pantry, emerged with flour, eggs, bacon. Her hands moved efficiently, building a fire in the stove, mixing batter for biscuits. Caleb watched her work, impressed by the economy of her movements. No wasted effort. A woman who'd learned to make do with nothing. "You don't have to cook," he said. "I know." She cracked eggs into a bowl. "But I need to do something. Need to feel useful. Can't just sit and be taken care of." Fair enough. They worked in comfortable silence. Caleb set the table. Eleanor fried bacon, scrambled eggs, pulled golden biscuits from the oven. The smell woke the children. Danny appeared first, rubbing his eyes, still wearing Caleb's oversized shirt. "Is it real?" the boy asked. "The food." "The warm house. Did we really make it?" Eleanor knelt, pulled him close. "It's real, baby. We made it." Emma came down next, moving slower still, coughing. Eleanor's face tightened with worry. "How you feeling, sweetheart?" she asked. "My chest hurts, Mama." Caleb stepped closer. "Can I listen?" He looked at Eleanor. "Learned some doctoring when I ranched up north. Lost too many men to pneumonia not to learn the signs." Eleanor hesitated, then nodded. Caleb knelt beside Emma, pressed his ear to her small back. "Take a deep breath. Big as you can." Emma breathed in. Caleb heard the rattle immediately. Fluid in her lungs. Not bad yet, but getting there. "She needs to stay warm," he said, straightening. "Dry. We need to watch that cough. Could turn into something worse fast. I don't have money for a doctor." "Didn't ask for money. Asked you to keep her warm." He looked at Emma. "You like honey, sweetheart?" Emma nodded, eyes wide. "Good, because I got a whole jar of it. Mix it with hot water and lemon. It'll help that cough. You drink it 3 times a day until you're better." "Deal." "Deal," Emma whispered. They sat down to breakfast. Danny and Emma stared at their plates like they'd never seen so much food. Eleanor's eyes shone wet, but she blinked hard, refusing to cry in front of her children. "Go ahead," Caleb said. It's for eating, not looking at. Danny picked up a biscuit, took a small bite. His eyes went wide. He took another bite, then another. Emma followed, eating slowly, carefully, like the food might disappear if she went too fast. Eleanor watched them eat, not touching her own plate. "You need to eat too," Caleb said quietly. "I will. Just want to make sure they have enough first." "There's enough for everyone. Always will be. That's a promise." She looked at him, searching his face for the lie. Found none. Slowly she picked up her fork. They ate in silence, broken only by the scrape of forks on plates, the crackle of the fire, Danny's small sounds of contentment. When the plates were clean, both children sat back fuller than they'd been in months. "Can we stay here?" Danny asked suddenly. "Can we live in this house?" Eleanor's face went still. "Danny, that's not—" "For now, yes," Caleb interrupted. "For as long as your mama wants. Forever. That's up to your mama." Danny turned to Eleanor, eyes pleading. "Can we, Mama, please? We'll see, baby. One day at a time." After breakfast, Caleb rode out to check the fence lines, assess storm damage. Eleanor cleaned the kitchen, then went upstairs to the bedroom, where Rebecca's clothes still hung in the wardrobe. She stood in front of it for a long time before opening the doors. Dresses hung in neat rows. Simple, practical things. Work dresses. Sunday dresses. One fancy dress that had probably been for special occasions. Eleanor touched the fabric gently, wondering about the woman who'd worn them. Wondering what she'd been like. Wondering if she'd mind another woman wearing her clothes. She selected the plainest dress, dark blue wool, that looked warm. In the mirror, it fit well enough. A little loose in the waist, but nothing a belt wouldn't fix. She braided her hair, pinned it up, looked at herself. A different woman stared back. Not the desperate widow scrubbing dishes for scraps. Someone else. Someone who might have a future. Downstairs she found Emma trying to help Danny button his shirt, one of Caleb's that hung to the boy's knees. Eleanor knelt, helped them both dress in makeshift clothes that would work until they could get their trunk from the wagon. "Mama, can we go outside?" Danny asked. "The snow stopped. I want to see everything." "It's too cold, baby. Please, just for a little while." Eleanor looked at Emma. The little girl's cheeks had color this morning, but that cough lingered. "Emma needs to stay inside. Keep warm." "I can watch her," came a voice from the doorway. Caleb stood there, snow dusting his shoulders. "You could take Danny out, show him the barn. Horses are asking about him." "Horses don't ask about people," Danny said, but he smiled. "These ones do. They're curious. Want to know who's living in their house now." Danny looked at his mother, hopeful. Eleanor hesitated, then nodded. "Stay close to me. Do what I say. Understand?" "Yes, Mama." Outside, the world gleamed white under morning sun. Snow covered everything in smooth drifts, unmarked except for Caleb's tracks to and from the barn. Danny gasped at the sight. "It's so much," he breathed. "More than I've ever seen." They walked to the barn. Danny's small hand in Eleanor's. Inside, horses nickered in their stalls. The air smelled like hay and leather and animals. Clean, honest smells. "That's Thunder." Caleb pointed to a big roan gelding. "He's grumpy, but dependable. And that's Swift. She's the smart one. Too smart sometimes." Danny approached Thunder's stall carefully. The horse lowered his head, sniffed the boy. Danny reached out, slowly, touched the velvet nose. "He likes you," Caleb said. "Doesn't let just anyone touch him." "Really? Really? You got away with animals, I can tell." Danny's whole face lit up. Eleanor watched her son glow under this stranger's casual praise, and something in her chest ached. Michael had been gone a year. A year since Danny had heard a man tell him he was good at something. A year since he'd had a father. "Can I help you with the horses?" Danny asked. "Feed them, brush them. I'll work hard. I promise." "Danny," Eleanor said quickly, "Mr. Thornton doesn't need—" Actually, I could use help, Caleb interrupted. Gets lonely out here doing everything alone. You want to earn your keep, you can start with morning feed. I'll teach you how. He showed Danny how to measure grain, how to approach each horse, where to stand so they wouldn't kick. Danny listened intently, following every instruction exactly. For a 7-year-old who'd spent the last year barely surviving, he had remarkable focus. Eleanor watched them work together. Caleb's patience surprising her. He never rushed Danny, never grabbed the tools and did it himself when the boy struggled. Just waited, encouraged, let Danny figure it out. Your son's a hard worker, Caleb said when they finished. Learns fast, too. His father was the same way, took pride in doing things right. He teach Danny that every chance he got before... She stopped, looked away. Before he died. Before everything fell apart. Her voice went hard. Before I learned that the man I thought I knew was someone else entirely. Caleb studied her face. You think he was a thief? I don't know what he was. I know men came after he died claiming he owed them money. I know the amounts kept changing. I know nobody would tell me where the money supposedly went. And I know that everyone in town decided I must have known, must have been part of it. She met his eyes. So I stopped asking questions, stopped defending him. What difference did it make? He was dead. The money was gone. And nothing I said would change anyone's mind. Sounds like you got convicted without a trial. Welcome to Pine Creek Justice. Danny ran up, interrupting. Mr. Thornton, can I brush Thunder, please? If your mama says it's okay. Eleanor nodded. Danny disappeared back into the barn, chattering to the horse like they were old friends. He's different here, Eleanor said softly. Lighter. He hasn't smiled like that in months. Kids need something to care about, something that's theirs. A horse is a good thing for a boy. I can't afford a horse. Didn't say buy one, said he needs something to care about. Thunder there, he's mine, but caring for him, that can be Danny's job, if he wants it. Why are you doing this? Caleb was quiet for a moment. I told you about my sister, about losing her. What I didn't tell you was how it changed me, made me cold, made me push everyone away. When I met Rebecca, she broke through that, made me remember how to feel things again, how to care. He looked at Eleanor. When she died, I went back to ICE. Spent 3 years in this house alone, convincing myself it was better this way. Safer. Can't lose what you don't have. And now I'm remembering that being alive means more than just breathing. Means connecting to people. Even when it's scary. Even when you might lose them. He met her eyes. Your kids reminded me of that. Reminded me that some things are worth the risk. Eleanor's throat tightened. You barely know us. Known you long enough to see your strength. See your love for your children. See that you've survived things that would have broken most people. He turned toward the barn. That's enough to know. Inside, Danny was carefully brushing Thunder's flank, talking in a steady stream about his sister, about the storm, about how warm the house was. The horse stood perfectly still, ears swiveling to catch every word. They spent another hour in the barn. Danny learned to clean hooves, check water buckets, spread fresh hay. Simple tasks, but he approached each one with serious determination. When they finally headed back to the house, his cheeks glowed red with cold and pride. Emma sat by the fire with a book, sounding out words slowly. Caleb had given her one of his old readers, and she studied each page like it held secrets. How's that cough? Eleanor asked, pressing a hand to her daughter's forehead. Better, I think. The honey drink helped. Eleanor relaxed slightly. Not worse. That was something. The rest of the day passed in domestic routine. Eleanor cooked. Caleb fixed things that needed fixing: a loose board on the porch, a sticky window, a squeaky door hinge. Danny followed him everywhere, watching, learning, asking 100 questions. Emma stayed close to the fire, reading, coughing occasionally, but not getting worse. By evening, exhaustion caught up with all of them. The children went to bed early, their bodies still recovering from yesterday's ordeal. Eleanor stood at their door watching them sleep. "They look peaceful," Caleb said from behind her. "For now. But tomorrow—" She stopped. "Tomorrow we'll figure it out. Same as today. The town's going to find out I'm here. Word travels fast. Let it travel. You don't understand what they'll say, what they'll assume. I understand plenty. Understand they're wrong. That's what matters." Eleanor turned to face him. "Why aren't you afraid of them, of what they can do to your reputation, your business?" "Because I learned something when Rebecca died. Learned that time's short, life's unpredictable. The opinions of people who don't matter, they're just noise. And I'm tired of letting noise control my choices." "That's brave." "That's exhausted. There's a difference." She almost smiled. Almost. "I should sleep." "Before you do." He pulled something from his pocket. A key. "This locks the front door from inside. Bedroom doors lock already. But I want you to have this. Want you to know you control who comes and goes. This is your home now, same as mine. You say someone can't come in, they can't. Even me. Especially me." Eleanor stared at the key. "You're trusting me with your whole house. Trusting you with more than that. Trusting you to make this place a home again. Haven't had that in 3 years." She took the key, closed her fingers around it. "Thank you. Welcome." She started toward her room, then stopped. "Caleb." "Yeah. When I was carrying Emma through that storm, there was a moment when I almost put her down. Almost told Danny to keep walking without me, because I didn't think I could take another step." "But you did." "Because I kept thinking about what you said, about how your sister died while people watched and did nothing. And I thought I can't let that be my children's story. Can't let them die because I gave up." Her voice cracked. "You saved us twice yesterday, once by getting us out of that shack, and again by giving me a reason to keep walking." Caleb's throat tightened. "You would have kept walking anyway. You're stronger than you know." "I don't feel strong." "Strong people rarely do. They just keep moving anyway." She nodded, disappeared into her room. Caleb heard the lock click. Good. She should feel safe. Should know she had control here. He went downstairs, settled in his chair by the fire. The house felt different tonight. Not just occupied, alive. There were sounds again. Breathing from upstairs. The creak of someone rolling over in bed. The small cough from Emma's room. Human sounds. Living sounds. He'd forgotten how much he missed them. Outside, wind picked up again. Not storm wind. Just winter wind, restless and cold. Caleb closed his eyes, listened to his house breathe around him, and let himself feel something he'd buried 3 years ago. Gratitude. The next morning brought visitors. Caleb heard horses before he saw them. 3 riders coming up the road, moving fast. He stepped onto the porch, pulling the door shut behind him. Inside, Eleanor quieted the children, moved them away from the windows. The riders pulled up in front of the house. Robert Collins, Harrison Blake, and James Murphy. The banker, the restaurant owner, and Caleb's oldest friend. Their faces said this wasn't a social call. "Morning, gentlemen," Caleb said evenly. "Caleb." Robert dismounted, the other 2 following. "We need to talk." About the widow you brought home 2 nights ago. About the debt you paid. About..." Robert stopped, choosing words carefully. "About what you're doing here." "What I'm doing here is my business." "It's the town's business when you harbor a woman of questionable character," Harrison said. "When you damage your own reputation by associating with—" "Careful," Caleb interrupted, voice dropping. "Very careful how you finish that sentence." Harrison's jaw worked, but he stayed quiet. Robert stepped forward, playing peacemaker. "Nobody's here to fight. We're here as friends, trying to help you see reason." "I see fine. Do you? Because from where we're standing, you paid off $300 in debt That woman's husband stole from honest men, brought her and her children to your home, and now the whole town's talking, saying you've taken a mistress, saying worse things than that. Let them say what they want. Your cattle contract's Caleb. The Wallace brothers are pulling out. So are the Tompkins. That's half your business gone in 2 days. Then I'll find other buyers. There are no other buyers. Not around here. Not once word spreads that you're... Robert stopped, frustrated. Why are you doing this? For a woman you don't even know. For children who aren't yours. Because it's right. Right. Murphy spoke up, his voice sharp. Right for who that woman's husband owed me money. Real money. And now you've paid it off like it's nothing, like his crimes don't matter. You were feeding her scraps, Caleb said coldly. Making her wash dishes for garbage. Letting her children starve. And you want to talk to me about what's right? She didn't deserve better. Her husband was a thief. Her husband's dead. She's not. And those children sure as hell didn't steal anything. The sins of the father are not the children's burden. Caleb stepped down off the porch, moving closer. You three came here to change my mind, to make me send them away. That's not happening. You want to pull contracts? Pull them. Want to spread rumors? Spread them. Want to destroy my business? Try. But those people are staying, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave my property, now. The three men exchanged glances. Robert tried once more. We've been friends since we were boys. I'm asking you, begging you to think about what you're throwing away. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing something better. That woman. Human decency. Robert's face hardened. Fine. You've made your choice. But don't come crying to us when everything falls apart. When you're broke and alone, and that woman's moved on to the next man stupid enough to take her in. Get off my land. The three men mounted their horses. As they turned to leave, Murphy looked back. You know what people are saying, don't you? That you're just another fool taken in by a pretty face and a sad story. That she's using you. That she knew about her husband's crimes and helped him hide the money. And now she's found a new mark. Let them say it. Won't make it true. Time will tell, won't it? Murphy kicked his horse, rode off. The others followed. Caleb stood in the yard until they disappeared. Behind him the door opened quietly. Eleanor stepped out, pale. I heard, she said. I figured. They're right, you know. About your business. About what this is costing you. They're not right about anything that matters. Caleb. Do you want to leave? What? Simple question. You want to pack up your children and go, I'll give you money. Help you get wherever you need to go. But if you stay because you want to. Not because you feel obligated. Not because you feel trapped. Because you choose it. Eleanor stood silent for a long moment. The wind pulled at her hair, at the dress, Rebecca's dress that she wore. Finally, I'm tired of running. Tired of being afraid. Tired of letting other people's opinions dictate my life. That's not an answer. It is, though. Because if I leave now, I'm telling my children that we run when things get hard. That we let bullies win. That we don't deserve good things. She met his eyes. And I'm tired of teaching them that lesson. So you're staying. If you'll still have us. After what you just lost for us. I lost nothing important. Gained something that matters. That's a trade I'll make every time. Emma's cough drifted from inside. Eleanor's face tightened with worry. I should check on her. We should both check on her. They went inside together. Emma sat by the fire, her face flushed, breathing shallow. The cough had worsened overnight. Eleanor knelt, pressed her hand to Emma's forehead. She's burning up. Caleb listened to Emma's chest again. The rattle had deepened, spread. Pneumonia, setting in fast. I need to get the doctor, he said. They won't come. Not for me. Not for my daughter. Then they'll come for me. For my money. Wait here. He rode into town hard, pushing his horse faster than he should have. Dr. Patterson's office sat on Main Street door, open, patients waiting inside. Caleb walked straight past them into the examining room. "Dr. Patterson, need you at my ranch. Now." The doctor looked up, frowning. "I have patients here. You'll have to wait your turn. Little girl's got pneumonia, getting worse by the hour. She needs help now. Then bring her here. Can't move her. Too sick. You need to come to my place." Patterson hesitated. "Is this about the widow heard you took her in?" "This is about a sick child who needs a doctor, that's all." "Caleb, I understand you want to help, but that woman, her reputation, is none of your concern. Child dying of pneumonia is. Now are you coming, or do I need to find another doctor?" "There is no other doctor for 50 miles. "Then I guess you're coming." Patterson grabbed his bag, followed Caleb outside. They rode back in tense silence. At the house, the doctor examined Emma thoroughly, while Eleanor hovered nearby, hands clasped tight. "Pneumonia," Patterson confirmed. "Severe. Needs constant care. Medicine every 4 hours. Cool compresses to bring the fever down. If it gets worse." He stopped. "I'll leave you supplies, instructions. Check back tomorrow." "What aren't you saying?" Eleanor demanded. Patterson looked at her directly for the first time. "I'm saying the next few days will tell. Children this young, this undernourished, they don't always fight this off. You need to be prepared." "For what?" "For whatever comes." Eleanor's face went white. Caleb stepped between them. "She'll be fine. We'll make sure of it." Patterson left medicine and instructions, collected his fee, rode away. For the rest of that day, and into the night, Caleb and Eleanor worked in shifts. One sitting with Emma, bathing her forehead, coaxing medicine between her lips. The other managing Danny cooking, keeping the house running. By midnight, Emma's fever spiked. She cried out in her sleep, thrashing. Eleanor held her daughter, rocking, whispering prayers and promises in equal measure. Caleb found them like that. Eleanor exhausted Emma, barely conscious, both of them fighting a battle they might not win. "Let me take her for a while," he said quietly. "You need to rest." "I can't. If I close my eyes, if I stop watching—" "Then I'll watch. I won't stop. I promise." Eleanor hesitated, then carefully transferred Emma into Caleb's arms. The little girl weighed nothing, just bones and fever and failing breath. He settled into the rocking chair, held her against his chest, felt her heart beat too fast, too hard. "Stay with me, sweetheart," he whispered. "Stay with me. Your mama needs you. Your brother needs you. I need you, so you stay." Hours blurred together. He gave her medicine, bathed her forehead, whispered stories about horses and summer and all the things she'd see when she got better. Somewhere in the darkness, Eleanor slipped into the chair beside him, took his hand without speaking. They sat that way through the long night, two people who barely knew each other, holding vigil over a dying child, refusing to let go. Just before dawn, Emma's fever broke. Her breathing eased. Her eyes fluttered open. "Mama," she whispered. Eleanor sobbed, pulled her daughter close. "I'm here, baby. Right here. Am I better? You're getting there." Emma looked at Caleb over her mother's shoulder. "Did you stay with me all night?" "Yes, sweetheart, all night." "Thank you." Her eyes closed again, but this time her sleep looked peaceful. Eleanor pulled back, wiped her face. "She's going to be okay. She's going to be okay." They sat in exhausted silence as sunrise painted the windows gold. Outside, winter continued its grip on the land. Inside, a small girl breathed easier, and two adults who'd spent the night fighting death together looked at each other with new understanding. "I can't keep saying thank you," Eleanor said finally. "The words aren't enough anymore." "Don't need words. Just need you to stay. Keep choosing this. Keep choosing us. Us. This family we're building. Accidentally. Desperately. But building it anyway." Eleanor looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the exhaustion. Saw the grief still carved into his face. Saw the man who'd opened his home, his life, his wounded heart to strangers because it was right. "I choose this," she said. "I choose us." Caleb nodded, too tired for more words, but something settled in his chest, something that felt like peace. Danny appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Is Emma okay?" "She's okay, baby," Eleanor said. "Fever broke." Danny crossed the room, climbed into his mother's lap despite being too big for it. "I was scared." "Me too." "But Mr. Thornton stayed with her. He didn't let her die." "No, he didn't." Danny looked at Caleb. "Are you going to stay with us forever?" The question hung in the air. Too big, too complicated, too heavy with hope and fear. "As long as you want me to," Caleb said finally. "I want you to forever." Eleanor's eyes filled. She looked at Caleb over her son's head, and he saw the same question in her expression. The same hope. The same fear. He didn't have an answer, not yet. Didn't know what forever looked like. Didn't know if they'd survive the town's judgment, the loss of his business, the complications of 4 broken people trying to become whole. But he knew this moment. This morning. This family breathing together in his living room while sunlight turned the world gold. And for now, that was enough. Emma's recovery took days, not hours. She'd wake for short periods, drink broth. Eleanor made, then drift back into exhausted sleep. Each morning brought small improvements. Less coughing, clearer eyes, stronger voice. By the end of the week, she sat up in bed, asking for real food. "Can I have eggs?" she asked Eleanor. "And biscuits with butter." "You can have anything you want, sweetheart." Danny burst into the room. "Emma's awake, really awake." "Really awake," Emma confirmed, smiling weakly. Danny launched himself at his sister, hugging her tight. Eleanor watched her children together, something fierce and protective rising in her chest. They'd almost lost Emma, almost buried another member of their family. But they hadn't. They'd survived. Downstairs, Caleb worked on the rocking chair Eleanor had brought from town. The spindles he'd replaced weeks ago were drying. Now he sanded the arms smooth, restoring the wood Michael Hayes had carved for his wife years ago. His hands moved steadily, finding peace in the work. Eleanor came down the stairs, quietly watched him for a moment. "You didn't have to fix that." "Wanted to. Your daughter said it should remember her father. Seemed important." She moved closer, ran her fingers over the restored wood. "Michael made this the year we got married. Said every home needed a good rocking chair. For babies. For reading. For thinking." Her voice caught. "I didn't think I'd ever sit in it again." "Now you will. When it's done." They stood in comfortable silence, Eleanor watching Caleb work. His hands were scarred, calloused, but gentle with the wood. Careful, like he understood that some things deserved to be treated tenderly. "The town's quiet," Eleanor said finally. "Too quiet. It's been a week since those men came, since word spread that I'm here. But nobody's come back. No more confrontations. Nothing. They're waiting. For what? For me to fail. For you to leave. For proof they were right about you." He looked up at her. "Or they're talking among themselves, deciding what to do about us. That's what worries me. Worrying won't change it. We just keep going, keep living. Let them see what's true instead of what they want to believe. And if they never see it, then we didn't need their approval anyway." Eleanor wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that rightness mattered more than reputation. But she'd lived in Pine Creek long enough to know better. The town had long memories and short mercy. That afternoon, Danny helped Caleb mend fence posts damaged by the storm. The boy worked without complaint, holding nails, carrying tools, learning how to make things straight and strong. "Why do fences need to be perfect?" Danny asked, watching Caleb level a post. "Because horses are smart. They find weak spots, push against them until they break free. Good fence keeps them safe, keeps them home." "Is that why you fix everything? To keep us safe, keep us home?" Caleb paused, hammer raised. Yeah, I guess it is. I like it here. Like helping you. Like that Mama smiles sometimes now. Danny's voice went smaller. Is it wrong that I'm happy? Even though Papa's dead? Even though everything was so bad before? Caleb set down the hammer, knelt to Danny's level. It's not wrong to be happy. Your Papa would want that for you. Would want you to have a good life, a safe place, people who care about you. How do you know? Because that's what fathers want. What all good men want for children, for them to be happy, safe, loved. Did your Papa want that for you? The question hit unexpected territory. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. My father wanted a lot of things. Most of them he didn't get. But yeah, I think he wanted me to be okay. Just didn't know how to make it happen. Is that sad? Yeah, it's sad. Danny picked up a nail, turned it over in his small fingers. Mr. Thornton, can I ask you something? Anything. Are you going to marry my mama? Caleb's breath caught. That's complicated. Why, you like her. She likes you. We all live here together. Seems simple to me. Adults make things complicated. That's dumb. Despite everything, Caleb smiled. You're right. It is dumb. They worked in silence for a while. Then Danny spoke again, voice careful. If you did marry Mama, if you wanted to, I'd be okay with it. Just so you know. Noted. Emma would be okay with it too. We talked about it. Did you now? Yeah, we think you're better than most grown-ups. You don't lie. You don't pretend things are fine when they're not. And you stayed up all night with Emma when she was sick. That matters. Caleb's throat tightened. You and your sister are pretty smart. Mama says we get it from Papa, but I think we learned it from being hungry. Hungry makes you see what's real and what's not. That's the truest thing I've heard in a long time. They finished the fence as afternoon light slanted gold across the snow. Walking back to the house, Danny slipped his hand into Caleb's without asking permission. Just took his hand like it belonged there, like it had always belonged there. Caleb looked down at the small hand in his, felt something crack open in his chest. Something that had been frozen for 3 years, something that hurt as it thawed. Inside, Eleanor had moved Emma downstairs to the sofa near the fire. The little girl looked small, wrapped in blankets, but her color was better. Her breathing easier. Look who's up, Eleanor said, smiling. We fixed the fence, Danny announced. Made it strong so the horses can't escape. That's good work. Eleanor looked at Caleb. Thank you for teaching him. He's a good student, learns fast, asks good questions. Papa used to say asking questions is how you get smart, Danny said. Eleanor's smile flickered but held. Your Papa was right about that. That evening they all sat together in the living room. Emma on the sofa, Danny on the floor by the fire, Eleanor in the rocking chair Caleb had finished, and Caleb in his usual chair, a piece of wood in his hands, whittling something he hadn't planned. What are you making? Emma asked. Don't know yet. Sometimes you just start cutting and see what wants to come out. That's magic. Not magic, just patience. Eleanor rocked slowly, the chair's rhythm soothing. My mother had a chair like this. I used to sit in her lap while she rocked. She'd sing to me. Old songs I can barely remember now. Sing one, Emma said. Please. I don't remember the words well enough. Sing what you remember. We don't care if it's perfect. Eleanor hesitated, then began quietly. An old lullaby, words half forgotten, but melody sweet. Her voice wavered at first, then steadied. Danny stopped playing with the fire poker. Emma closed her eyes. Caleb's hands stilled on the wood. When the song ended, nobody spoke. The moment held them all suspended, something precious and fragile in the air. That was beautiful, Mama, Emma whispered. Your grandmother sang it better. I liked your version. Later, after the children were in bed, Caleb and Eleanor sat together in the kitchen, coffee between them. exhaustion written on both their faces. "I haven't sung that song since my mother died," Eleanor said. "Forgot I even knew it. It was nice, peaceful. Emma asked me this morning if we could stay here forever, not just for now, forever." "What did you tell her?" "That forever's a long time, that we'd see." "That's fair." Eleanor looked at him directly. "But what if she's right to ask? What if this, whatever this is, what if it could be permanent?" Caleb set down his coffee cup carefully. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we've been dancing around something for 2 weeks now, living like a family but not talking about what that means, not making any real decisions, just existing day to day. You want to make decisions? I want to know if you're doing this out of guilt, out of some obligation to your dead sister, or if—" She stopped. "I need to know what this is, for my children's sake. They're getting attached, getting comfortable. And if we're going to leave, if this is temporary, I need to know before they get too settled. Do you want to leave?" "Stop answering questions with questions." Caleb stood paced to the window. Outside, moonlight turned the snow blue-white. "I don't know what this is. I know I couldn't walk away from you in that alley. I know I can't imagine this house empty again. I know that when Emma was sick, when I thought she might die." His voice roughened. "I realized I'd already started thinking of her as mine, both of them as mine, and that terrified me. Why? Because everyone I love dies. My sister, my parents, my wife, my son, everyone. And I swore I wouldn't do that again, wouldn't let myself care that much. Because the loss—" He turned to face her. "The loss is unbearable." Eleanor stood, moved closer. "Loss is always unbearable. That's not special. That's just being human." "Then maybe I don't want to be human anymore." "Too late. You already are. You already care. I see it every time you look at Danny. Every time you stayed up with Emma. Every time you defend me to people who think I'm beneath defending." She stopped a foot away from him. "You're already in this, Caleb. The only question is whether you're going to admit it." He looked at her, really looked at her, saw the woman who'd carried her daughter through a blizzard, who'd survived a year of starvation and shame without breaking, who stood here now demanding honesty instead of accepting comfortable lies. "I'm afraid," he admitted. "So am I." "That's not very reassuring." "It's not supposed to be reassuring. It's supposed to be true." They stood in silence, the space between them charged with everything they weren't saying, everything they were too scared to say. Then Caleb spoke, voice low. "If we do this, if we make this permanent, it can't be charity. Can't be me rescuing you. Has to be partnership. Equal. I don't have anything to offer. No money, no property. Nothing but 2 children and a reputation that'll destroy your business. You have yourself, have your strength, have your honesty. That's worth more than any contract I lost. The town will make our lives hell. Let them try. You're serious about this. I'm serious about not wasting more time being afraid. I'm serious about building something real instead of hiding from ghosts. I'm serious about—" He stopped. "About you. About your children. About this family we've accidentally made." Eleanor's eyes filled. "That's the most words I've ever heard you say at once. Don't expect it regularly." She laughed, despite the tears. "I wouldn't dream of it." He moved closer, close enough to touch her. Didn't reach out. Just stood there waiting, letting her decide. Eleanor stepped forward, closed the distance between them, looked up at him. "If we do this, we do it right. No secrets, no pretending, no hiding what we are from the town or anyone else." "Agreed." "And we tell the children together. Make it official." "Agreed." "And you have to promise me something." "What?" "That you won't leave. Won't decide one day that this is too hard, too complicated, too much. Because my children have lost enough. I've lost enough. If you're going to be part of this family, you're in it. For good. Through everything. Caleb met her eyes. I promise. I won't leave, won't run, won't give up on this. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Eleanor nodded, something settling in her face. Relief. Decision. Hope. Okay then. Okay then. They stood like that, close, but not touching, sealing a promise that terrified them both. Then Caleb reached out slowly, gave her time to pull back. When she didn't, he pulled her against him. Held her. Felt her arms come around his waist. Felt her breathe against his chest. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For not being careful with me. For pushing back. For demanding truth instead of accepting whatever I was willing to give. You deserve someone who demands your truth. Most men want convenient lies. I'm not most men. No, you're not. They held each other while the fire burned low and the house settled around them. Two people who'd survived hell separately, choosing to face whatever came next together. Upstairs, Danny stood at the top of the stairs in his nightshirt watching them. He smiled, then crept back to bed. Climbed in beside Emma, who woke enough to whisper, "What's happening?" "They're hugging." "That's good. That's really good." Emma smiled, closed her eyes, drifted back to sleep. Danny lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, feeling something he hadn't felt in over a year. Safety. The kind that comes from knowing the adults in your life aren't about to disappear, aren't about to break apart, aren't about to leave you alone in the cold. The next morning brought clarity and consequence. Eleanor woke to find Caleb already up making breakfast. Coffee brewed. Bacon sizzled. Biscuits baked in the oven. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep. Too much thinking." Good thinking or bad thinking? Necessary thinking. He poured her coffee. "We need to go to town today." "Why?" "Because we need supplies. Because hiding out here won't change anything. And because I'm tired of letting them control the narrative. If we're doing this, we do it openly. Let them see what we are." "They won't like it." "Don't care if they like it. Care that they understand it." Eleanor sat down, wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "You know what you're asking? What it'll mean?" "I know exactly what I'm asking. I'm asking you to walk through town beside me, to hold your head up, to show them you're not ashamed, not hiding, not apologizing for surviving. And if they attack us, say horrible things in front of the children, then we leave, come home, but we don't slink around like we've done something wrong." Eleanor was quiet, fear and pride warring in her chest. Then, "Okay, we go to town, together." They told the children over breakfast. Danny's eyes went wide. Emma looked nervous. "Will people be mean to us?" Emma asked. "Maybe," Caleb said honestly. "But sometimes you have to walk through mean to get to better. You two up for that?" Danny straightened his shoulders. "I'm up for it." Emma took her brother's hand. "Me too." 2 hours later, they rode into Pine Creek in Caleb's wagon. Eleanor sat beside him on the bench, both children in back. People stopped on the street to stare. Conversations died mid-sentence. Women pulled their children closer. Caleb drove straight to the general store, tied up, the horses helped everyone down. They walked inside together, a united front. Frank Williams stood behind the counter, face hardening when he saw them. "Caleb." "Frank, need supplies. Regular order plus extras." "Don't know if I can fill that order today. Inventory's low." "Your shelves look full to me." "Still, might take time to gather everything." Caleb leaned on the counter. "Let me be real clear. I'm here to buy supplies. I got money. You got goods. That's how stores work. Now you can sell to me, or I can take my business to Brennan's place in the next county. Your choice." Frank's jaw worked. He looked at Eleanor, at the children, then back at Caleb. "Fine. Give me your list." Caleb handed it over. While Frank gathered supplies, Eleanor browsed the fabric section with Emma. Women shopping nearby moved away, whispered behind their hands. Eleanor kept her chin up, ignored them, focused on Emma's excited chatter about different colors. Danny stayed close to Caleb, watching everything with wary eyes. When a boy his age walked by, Danny smiled tentatively. The boy's mother grabbed his arm, pulled him away fast. "Why'd she do that?" Danny asked quietly. "Because people are scared of what they don't understand," Caleb said. "Not your fault, not anything you did wrong." "Then why does it feel bad?" "Because being rejected always feels bad, even when it's not about you." They paid for their supplies, loaded the wagon. As they prepared to leave, Pastor Reynolds appeared on the street. He looked at them for a long moment, then approached. "Mr. Thornton," he said. "Mrs. Hayes, children." "Pastor," Caleb replied evenly. Reynolds looked uncomfortable but determined. "I've been meaning to speak with you about your situation." "What situation?" "You know what I mean. You living together, unmarried. It's causing talk, causing problems in the community." "The problem is the community's judgment, not our living arrangement." "Perhaps. But there's a simple solution. Marry her. Make it proper. Give those children a legitimate father. Remove the scandal." Eleanor's face went white. Caleb's hand tightened on the wagon rail. "Is that what you came to say? That the only way to fix this is for me to make an honest woman out of her? I'm offering a path to redemption, for both of you." "We don't need redemption. We need people to mind their own business." "This is my business. The moral character of this community is my responsibility." "Then maybe focus on the moral character that lets children starve. That lets widows sleep in freezing shacks. That judges people without knowing their story." Caleb's voice stayed level, but his eyes were hard. "You want to help Pastor preach a sermon about mercy, about feeding the hungry, about not casting stones. That'd be useful. This conversation isn't." Reynolds stiffened. "I'm trying to help you avoid further disgrace." "We're not disgraced. We're just living. Now, if you'll excuse us, we're heading home." Caleb helped Eleanor into the wagon, lifted the children up, climbed up himself. As they pulled away, Reynolds called after them. "You're making a mistake, Caleb. This won't end well for any of you." Caleb didn't answer, just drove. Behind him, Eleanor sat rigid, hands clenched in her lap. The children were silent, sensing the tension. A mile out of town, Eleanor finally spoke. "He's right, you know. About marriage. If we're serious about this, about making it permanent, proper marriage would solve a lot of problems." "Is that what you want, marriage, because it's convenient, because it shuts people up?" "I want my children to have a name that isn't associated with scandal. Want them to be able to go to school without being bullied. Want them to have a normal life." "And what about what you want?" "What I want doesn't matter." Caleb pulled the wagon to a stop, turned to face her. "It matters to me, so I'm asking. Not about the children, not about the town. What do you want, Eleanor?" She looked at him, then away, then back. "I want," her voice caught, "I want to stop fighting. Stop pretending this is temporary. Stop waiting for everything to fall apart. I want to believe that maybe, possibly, this could actually work." "Do you love me?" The question hung in the air. Too big, too complicated, too soon. "I don't know," Eleanor said honestly. "I care about you, respect you, trust you more than I've trusted anyone in years. But love? I don't know if I know what that feels like anymore." "Fair enough. Do you love me?" Caleb was quiet, searching for truth. "I don't know either, but I know I want to find out. Want the chance to see if what we're building could become that." "That's not very romantic." "I'm not very romantic." Despite everything, Eleanor smiled. "No, you're really not. But I'm honest, and I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. That counts for something." "It counts for everything." They looked at each other, something shifting between them. Not love. Not yet. But the foundation for it. The possibility of it. "So what do we do?" Eleanor asked. "About the town. About the scandal. About making this legitimate. We get married. But not because the pastor says we should. Not because the town demands it. Because we want to. Because it makes sense. Because it protects you and the children legally. Gives you ownership of this land. Gives them my name. Makes us a real family in the eyes of the law." That's practical. I'm a practical man. When? Soon. This week, maybe. Before the town works itself into something uglier. Before more contracts get pulled. Before... He stopped. "Before I lose my nerve." Eleanor reached over, took his hand. "You won't lose your nerve. You're the bravest person I know." "I'm terrified." Brave people are always terrified. That's what makes them brave. They drove the rest of the way home in silence, hands linked on the wagon bench. Behind them, Danny whispered to Emma, "I think they're getting married." "Really? Really? That means Mr. Thornton would be our papa." Danny thought about this. "Is that okay? Even though it's not our real papa?" "I think it's okay. Real papas are people who stay. People who take care of you. Mr. Thornton does that." "Yeah, he does." At the house, they unloaded supplies together. Caleb showed Danny how to stack things properly in the pantry. Eleanor put fabric away for future sewing projects. Emma arranged new books on a shelf Caleb had built. Domestic tasks, ordinary moments, the building blocks of family. That night, after the children were asleep, Caleb and Eleanor sat on the porch, despite the cold. Stars, brilliant overhead, their breath clouding in frozen air. "I need to tell you something," Eleanor said. "About Michael. About the money everyone says he stole. You don't have to. I do. Because we're talking about marriage. About forever. And you deserve the whole truth." Caleb waited. Eleanor took a breath. "I don't think Michael stole anything. I think he was killed for knowing too much. The mine collapse that killed him, it wasn't an accident. The supports were rotten. Management knew it. They'd been warned for months, but did nothing because fixing it would cost money. Michael was going to report them. Going to bring in investigators. And 3 days before he was going to do it, the mine collapsed. 17 men died. And suddenly, Michael owed all this money nobody could prove he'd borrowed. From people with connections to the mine owners. You think they killed him and framed him? I can't prove it. Have no evidence. But yes, that's what I think. And the town chose to believe he was a thief rather than admit their leading citizens might be murderers. It's easier that way. Cleaner. Her voice went hard. So they destroyed his name, and mine, and my children's, because that's simpler than facing the truth. Caleb processed this. If you're right, if Michael was murdered, then you've been living in a town full of people who let killers go free, who blamed the victim, who punished his family for his attempt to do right. Yes. And you still want to stay here. Where else would I go? I have no family. No money except what you gave me. No options. She met his eyes. Unless you're having second thoughts. I'm not. Just understanding better why you were so hard to reach. Why trust is difficult for you. Everyone I trusted betrayed me. Everyone except... She stopped. Except me. So far. But it's early yet. I won't betray you. That's what everyone says. I'm not everyone. Eleanor nodded slowly. No, you're not. They sat in silence, the truth between them now. Not just her truth. All of it. The complexity. The danger. The weight of choosing each other in a world that wanted them apart. When we get married, Caleb said finally, we need to do it legal. Recorded proper. With a deed that puts your name on this property. Equal ownership. So if something happens to me, you and the children are protected. Why are you talking like something might happen? Because Michael thought he was safe too. And 17 men died. I'm not fool enough to think making waves in this town comes without risk. Then maybe we shouldn't make waves. Too late for that. Already did when I brought you home. He looked at her. But I need to know you'll be okay. That the children will be okay. Need to know I'm not leaving you vulnerable. You're talking about your death very casually. Lived alone with grief for 3 years. Death doesn't scare me anymore. Leaving you unprotected does. Eleanor's throat tightened. I don't want you to die. Good. I don't plan to. But plans and reality don't always match up. That's dark. That's honest. She moved closer, took his hand. Then let's make a deal. You promise to stay alive, to be careful, to not take stupid risks for my honor or anything else. And I promise to do the same. We protect each other, keep each other safe, build something that lasts. Deal. They shook on it solemnly like children making a pact. Then Caleb pulled her closer, wrapped his coat around her shoulders. You're freezing. So are you. Then we should go inside. In a minute. I like it out here, like seeing stars, remembering there's beauty left in the world. They sat together under that vast sky, two damaged people, choosing hope over despair, partnership over isolation, risk over safety. Choosing each other, despite everything that made it foolish. Inside the house, Danny lay awake in his bed, Emma sleeping beside him. Through the window, he could see Caleb and his mother on the porch. See them sitting close. See them choosing each other. He smiled, pulled his sister closer, and let himself believe what he hadn't dared believe in over a year. That maybe this time they'd get to keep their family. That maybe this time love would be enough. That maybe this time everything would be okay. 3 days later, Caleb rode into town alone before dawn. He went straight to the courthouse, waited on the steps until Judge Morrison arrived to open his office. Thornton, the judge said, surprised. Early business. Marriage license. Need it drawn up proper. Morrison's eyebrows rose. For you and the Hayes widow. That's right. You're certain about this. Wouldn't be here if I wasn't. The judge studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Come inside. They filled out paperwork in silence. Morrison asked the required questions, recorded the answers. When it was done, he handed Caleb the license. You'll need witnesses, 2 of them, and a minister or magistrate to perform the ceremony. Can you do it the marrying part? I can. When? Saturday, 2 days from now, at my ranch, noon. That's fast. No reason to wait. Morrison hesitated. Caleb, I need to tell you something. Off the record. Go ahead. Harrison Blake's been asking questions about Michael Hayes, about the debts, about where that money actually went. The judge lowered his voice. He's digging into things that some powerful people don't want dug into. What kind of things? The mine collapse, the inspection records that went missing, the payoffs that supposedly didn't happen. Morrison met Caleb's eyes. I'm telling you this because marrying Eleanor Hayes puts you in the middle of something dangerous, something that got her husband killed. You believe he was murdered. I believe 17 men died in a collapse that should have been prevented. I believe documents disappeared. I believe questions got answered with threats instead of truth. What I believe doesn't matter legally, I got no proof. But personally, he nodded. Yeah. I think Michael Hayes was killed for trying to do right. Caleb took this in. Does Eleanor know you think this? Never had a chance to tell her. She stopped coming to town after folks turned on her. Figured she was safer keeping her head down. She knows. Has her own theories. Then you both know what you're walking into. We do. Morrison handed over the license. Saturday at noon. I'll be there. And Caleb, watch your back. Men who'd kill 17 miners won't hesitate to kill one rancher who asks wrong questions. Caleb rode home slowly processing everything. The danger was real. More real than he'd let himself acknowledge. But turning back now Meant leaving Eleanor unprotected. Meant leaving the children vulnerable. And he'd promised. Promised not to run. Not to give up. At the house, Eleanor met him at the door. Well, he held up the license. Saturday, noon. Judge Morrison will marry us here. Eleanor took the paper, hands trembling slightly. It's real then. It's real. I'm scared. So am I. She looked up at him. But we're doing it anyway. We're doing it anyway. That afternoon, Eleanor and Emma worked together making a dress from the fabric they'd bought in town. Not white, that would be foolish, but a deep green wool that would be practical afterward. Emma sat nearby hemming handkerchiefs, her small fingers careful with the needle. Mama, will you wear flowers? Emma asked. I don't think so, sweetheart. It's winter. Flowers don't grow now. But you should have something pretty, something special. Eleanor's eyes stung. I have you, and Danny, and a good man willing to marry me despite everything. That's special enough. I could make you something, with ribbon maybe, or, Emma thought hard. I could pick dried flowers from the field, make you a bouquet from those. That would be lovely, baby. Emma beamed, already planning. Eleanor returned to her sewing, each stitch binding her to this new life, this new family, this choice that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. In the barn, Danny helped Caleb groom the horses. The boy worked quietly, lost in thought. Finally, Mr. Thornton. Yeah. When you marry Mama, should I call you Papa, or keep calling you Mr. Thornton? I don't know what's right. Caleb paused in his brushing. What do you want to call me? I don't know. Papa feels wrong 'cause you're not my real papa. But Mr. Thornton feels wrong 'cause you're going to be my family. So I'm stuck. How about Caleb? Just my name. Simple. Danny considered this. Would that hurt your feelings if I don't call you Papa? No, names don't matter much to me. What matters is you feeling comfortable, feeling like you belong here. I do feel like I belong here. More than anywhere since Papa died. Danny's voice went small. Is that okay? That I don't miss our old house, that I like it better here? It's more than okay. It's healthy. Means you're moving forward instead of staying stuck in the past. Do you miss your old life before Mama and us? Caleb thought about this honestly. I miss Rebecca. Miss the son I never got to meet. But do I miss being alone in that house, half dead myself? No. I don't miss that at all. Good. 'Cause I like you better when you smile. Didn't know I smiled. You do now. Not a lot, but sometimes. When Emma says something funny. Or when Mama laughs. Or when I do something right with the horses. Danny grinned. You should do it more. I'll work on it. They finished with the horses, walked back to the house together. Inside, wonderful smells greeted them. Eleanor had made stew biscuits, apple pie from dried apples Caleb had stored last fall. A feast for no reason except joy. They ate together at the table, the four of them talking over each other, laughing, arguing about nothing important. Moments that felt sacred in their ordinariness. Moments that were building something stronger than vows or licenses ever could. After dinner, Caleb pulled out the wooden horse he'd been carving weeks ago. He'd finished it finally, a small toy roughly made, but solid. He handed it to Danny. For me, the boy breathed. For you. Figure every boy needs a horse, even if it's just wood. Danny held it carefully, running his fingers over the carved mane, the legs positioned mid-gallop. It's perfect. It's rough. It's perfect, Danny insisted. He looked at Caleb with shining eyes. Thank you. I'll keep it forever. Emma leaned forward. Can you make me something too, someday when you have time? What would you want? A bird, maybe. Something that flies. I can do that. Eleanor watched this exchange, her heart too full for words. Watched Caleb with her children. Watched them with him. watched a family forming not through blood but through choice, through small kindnesses and patient teaching and carved wooden toys. Friday morning brought unexpected visitors. Eleanor looked out the window to see 2 wagons approaching. She tensed, ready for confrontation. But as they got closer, she recognized Martha Collins Roberts' wife and 2 other women from town. "Caleb," she called. "People coming." He joined her at the window, jaw tightening when he saw who it was. "Stay inside. I'll handle this." "No, we handle it together." They stepped onto the porch as the wagons pulled up. Martha climbed down first, 2 baskets in her arms. The other women followed, also carrying things. "Mrs. Hayes," Martha said formally. "Mr. Thornton, we hope we're not intruding." "Depends on why you're here," Caleb replied. "We heard you're getting married tomorrow. Came to offer help, if you want it." Eleanor stared. "Help? Food for after the ceremony. Some decorations maybe. A wedding shouldn't be completely plain." Martha's voice softened. "I know my husband was part of the group that came here before. Tried to convince you to send Mrs. Hayes away. He was wrong. I told him so. Told him shame on all of us for letting a widow and children nearly starve while we worried about gossip." One of the other women stepped forward. "I'm Sarah Bennett. I didn't know your husband well, Mrs. Hayes, but I knew mine. He worked in that mine. Died in the collapse, too. And I know what it's like when a town turns its back on you. When they blame you for things you can't control." The third woman nodded. "I'm Catherine Moore. My brother died in that collapse, and I've spent 2 years wondering why. Wondering if it could have been prevented. When I heard you were marrying Mr. Thornton, when I heard folks talking about your husband being a thief, I started asking questions, started digging through old records." She met Eleanor's eyes. "Your husband wasn't a thief. He was a truth teller. And he died for it." Eleanor's breath caught. "You found proof. Found enough. Found inspection reports that went missing. Found payments that shouldn't exist. Found a paper trail that leads right to some prominent men in this town." Catherine's voice went hard. "Can't prove murder, but I can prove negligence. Can prove cover-up. And I've sent everything I found to the territorial governor. Let him sort it out." Caleb stepped forward. "That's dangerous. For you. For your family. I know. But my brother's dead. 17 men are dead, and their families have been blamed, shunned, destroyed while the guilty got rich. That's not justice, that's cowardice. That's—" She looked at Eleanor. "Your husband tried to stop it. Died trying. The least I can do is finish what he started." Eleanor's legs went weak. Caleb caught her arm, steadied her. "Michael was telling the truth," she whispered. "All this time he was telling the truth." "Yes, ma'am," Catherine confirmed. "And the town owes you an apology. A lot more than an apology. But that'll take time. For now, we came to help with your wedding. If you'll let us." Eleanor looked at these 3 women. Looked at their faces, some guilty, some determined, all sincere. Looked at the baskets they'd brought, the olive branch being offered. "Why now?" she asked. "Why after all this time?" Martha spoke gently. "Because sometimes it takes someone showing courage first before others find theirs. Mr. Thornton showed courage bringing you home, standing by you, refusing to bow to pressure. That made some of us ashamed, made us look at ourselves and realize we'd become the kind of people who let children starve, who let widows suffer, who chose comfort over conscience." She set down her baskets. "We can't undo the past, can't give you back the year you lost, but we can show up now. Do better going forward, if you'll let us." Eleanor looked at Caleb. He squeezed her arm gently. Let her decide. She turned back to the women. "Come inside. I'll make coffee." Over the next hour, the women transformed the house. Martha brought food, ham, potatoes, fresh bread preserves. Sarah brought wild evergreen branches that filled the rooms with forest scent. Catherine brought candles, and her grandmother's tablecloth yellowed with age, but beautiful. Eleanor watched them work, still wary, but beginning to soften. Emma helped arrange branches. Danny carried things where directed. Caleb stayed nearby, protective, but allowing the moment to unfold. "Your dress," Martha asked Eleanor. "Did you make something green wool, practical? It's upstairs. May I see it?" They went upstairs together. Eleanor pulled out the dress, simple but well made. Martha touched the fabric, nodded approval. "It's lovely. Practical but special. Just right." She hesitated. "I have something. Brought it on the chance you'd accept it. My mother's wedding veil. Just lace, nothing fancy. But if you'd like to borrow it." Eleanor's eyes filled. "I couldn't." "You could. Should. Every bride deserves something beautiful. I don't deserve anything from you. From any of you. Not after what this town did." Martha's face crumpled. "You're right. You don't deserve it. But I'm offering anyway. Not to make myself feel better. Not to absolve my guilt. Just because a wedding should be joyful. Should have beauty. And you've had so little of either." Eleanor took the veil, held it up. Delicate lacework, yellowed slightly but still lovely. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome." Downstairs, Sarah and Catherine had engaged Danny and Emma in making decorations from what little they had: pine cones painted with flower paste ribbons tied to branches, simple beauty from ordinary things. "This looks like magic," Emma breathed, watching the house transform. "Magic's just people caring enough to try," Sarah said. "Remember that sweetness. Remember that even when things are dark, there are folks who'll show up with candles." By afternoon, the house glowed with preparation. The women prepared to leave, gathering their things. At the door, Martha turned to Eleanor. "Tomorrow at noon, you'll have more than just us. Word's spreading. Some folks are angry about it, the ones with something to hide. But others are ashamed, wanting to make amends. You'll have witnesses. You'll have support. You won't stand alone anymore." After they left, Eleanor collapsed into a chair, overwhelmed. Caleb knelt beside her. "You okay?" "I don't know. 2 weeks ago, I was eating scraps in a freezing shack. Now I'm getting married with the support of people who hated me. It's too much, too fast." "Want to call it off?" "No. God, no. Just struggling to process that maybe things can actually get better, that maybe we get a happy ending after all." "It's not an ending. Just a beginning." She touched his face. "You're a good man, Caleb Thornton." "I'm a man doing his best. That's all." That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She stood at her bedroom window, watching moonlight on snow, thinking about Michael. About the year she'd survived. About tomorrow. A soft knock came at her door. "Mama," Danny's voice. "Come in, baby." Danny entered, Emma behind him. Both looked serious. "We wanted to tell you something," Danny said. "Before tomorrow. Before everything changes." Eleanor sat on the bed, pulled them close. "What is it?" "We think you should marry him," Emma said. "We think it's right." "And we wanted you to know." Danny's voice caught. "We wanted you to know that we're okay. With you loving someone who's not Papa. With us having a new family. Papa would want us to be happy, to be safe, to have enough food." Tears ran down his cheeks. "And we do now. Because of Caleb. So we think Papa would like him. Would thank him for taking care of us." Eleanor pulled her children tight, sobbing. "Oh, my loves. My sweet, brave loves." "Don't cry, Mama," Emma whispered. "This is happy." "I know. These are happy tears." They held each other while moonlight filled the room, while the house settled around them, while tomorrow waited with all its promise and terror and hope. "Will you tell us about Papa?" Danny asked. "One more time before tomorrow, so we don't forget him." Eleanor nodded, wiping her eyes. "Your Papa was brave, was honest, was kind. He worked hard to give us a good life. He loved you both more than anything in this world. And he died trying to protect people, trying to save lives. That's who Michael Hayes was, a man who chose what was right over what was easy. Like Caleb, Emma said. Yes, like Caleb. Then maybe that's why we're here, Danny said slowly. Maybe Papa knew we'd need someone like him, someone who'd choose right over easy, someone who'd protect us. Maybe so, baby, maybe so. She tucked them back into bed, kissed their foreheads, whispered prayers over them. Then returned to her room, stood at the window again. Tomorrow she'd marry a man she'd known less than a month. Tomorrow she'd bind her life to his legally permanently. Tomorrow she'd stand in front of witnesses and promise forever to someone who'd saved her when she'd lost all hope. It should terrify her, and it did. But underneath the terror lived something stronger. Something that felt like faith, like trust, like the beginning of love. Down the hall, Caleb lay awake in his own bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow he'd marry a woman he barely knew. Tomorrow he'd become father to 2 children who weren't his blood. Tomorrow he'd stand up and claim a family, when for 3 years he'd claimed nothing but grief. It should terrify him, and it did. But underneath the terror lived something he'd forgotten he could feel. Something that felt like purpose, like redemption, like the possibility of being whole again. In their separate rooms, they waited for dawn, waited for Saturday, waited for the moment when broken pieces would forge themselves into something new, something that might be stronger than either of them alone. Saturday arrived cold and clear. Eleanor woke early, nervous energy coursing through her. She bathed, dressed carefully in the green wool dress. Martha's veil lay on the bed waiting. Downstairs, Caleb made coffee with shaking hands. He'd put on his best clothes, nothing fancy, just clean and pressed. His hands wouldn't stop trembling. Danny appeared first. "You're scared." "That obvious?" "You're shaking." "Yeah, I'm scared." "But you're still going to do it." "Yeah, still going to do it." "That's brave." "That's terrified." Danny grinned. "Can be both." Emma came down next wearing her best dress, one of the things recovered from their wagon after the storm. She carried a small bouquet of dried flowers and evergreen branches tied with ribbon. "For Mama, I made it." "It's beautiful," Caleb said honestly. "Will she like it?" "She'll love it." At 11:30, wagons started arriving. Martha and her family, Sarah and her children, Catherine and her husband. Then others, the blacksmith, who'd once refused Caleb's business, now carrying his wife and 4 kids. The schoolteacher. The doctor who'd come when Emma was sick. More and more, until the yard filled with people, with witnesses, with community choosing to show up. Eleanor watched from upstairs, disbelieving. "There's so many." "Town's changing its mind," Emma said. "Caleb changed it for them." At noon exactly, Judge Morrison arrived. He stood in the living room now, decorated with evergreen and candlelight and hope. Caleb waited there, Danny beside him. The room filled with witnesses spilling into the kitchen onto the porch. Martha came upstairs, helped Eleanor with the veil. "You ready?" "No." "Good. Best marriages start with fear. Means you understand what you're promising." They walked downstairs together. Eleanor paused at the bottom, looking at all these faces. People who'd scorned her. People who'd let her starve. People who'd now come to witness her redemption. Then she looked at Caleb, saw him standing there terrified but steady. Saw him waiting for her, choosing her. She walked to him, Emma's bouquet in her hands, stood beside him while Morrison opened his book. "Dearly beloved," the judge began, "we're gathered here to witness the joining of Caleb Thornton and Eleanor Hayes in marriage. This isn't just a legal contract. It's a sacred trust, a promise to build something together stronger than either could build alone." Eleanor's hand found Caleb's. He squeezed it tight. Morrison continued. "Caleb, do you take Eleanor as your wife, to love, honor, and protect, in plenty and in want, in joy and in sorrow, for as long as you both shall live. I do. Caleb's voice came steady despite his fear. Eleanor, do you take Caleb as your husband, to love, honor, and stand beside, in plenty and in want, in joy and in sorrow, for as long as you both shall live? Eleanor looked at this man who'd saved her, who'd chosen her, who'd given her children safety and hope and a future. I do. By the power vested in me by the territory of Montana, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Morrison smiled. You may kiss your bride. Caleb leaned down slowly, gave Eleanor time to pull back. She didn't. Their lips met, gently sealing promises they'd only begun to understand. The room erupted in applause. Danny and Emma rushed forward, wrapping around their mother and their new father. The four of them stood together, bound now legally and emotionally. A family. The celebration lasted hours. Food appeared more than they could eat. Music started. Someone had brought a fiddle. Children ran through the house. Adults talked, laughed, welcomed Eleanor back into community she'd been exiled from. As evening approached, people began leaving, each one stopping to speak to Eleanor, to apologize, to promise better. She accepted each apology with grace, though Caleb could see the strain around her eyes. This was healing. But healing hurt. Finally, they were alone. Just the four of them in the quiet house. Emma had fallen asleep on the sofa, exhausted. Danny dozed in the chair. Caleb and Eleanor stood in the kitchen, surrounded by gifts and food and the detritus of celebration. "We're married," Eleanor said, like she couldn't quite believe it. "We're married. I'm Eleanor Thornton now." "You are." She turned the name over in her mind. "It sounds right. Feels right. Good." They stood in awkward silence, suddenly unsure. Married but strangers. Partners but still learning each other. Together but apart. "I should check on the children," Eleanor said. "Get them to bed properly." "I'll help." They carried Danny and Emma upstairs together, tucked them into their beds. The children didn't wake, too exhausted from excitement and joy. Outside their rooms, Eleanor and Caleb stood in the hallway, neither knowing what came next. "I don't expect," Eleanor started. "I mean, we don't have to." "I know. We take this slow, figure it out as we go." "You're not disappointed." "I'm relieved. Rather build something real than rush into something we're not ready for." Eleanor smiled, some tension easing. "Thank you for understanding. Thank you for taking a chance on this, on me, on us." She reached up, kissed his cheek gently. "Good night, husband." "Good night, wife." They went to separate bedrooms as they had every night before. But tonight felt different. Tonight they were bound legally. Committed permanently. Family, not just by choice, but by vow. Caleb lay in bed listening to his house breathe. Heard Eleanor moving in her room. Heard the children sleeping peacefully. Heard his own heart beating steadier than it had in 3 years. He'd done it. Married. Chosen life over grief. Chosen risk over safety. Chosen love or the possibility of love over the certainty of loneliness. And tomorrow they'd wake up as husband and wife. As mother and father to 2 children who needed them. As partners building something from broken pieces. It wouldn't be easy. The town was changing, but slowly. Business would still suffer. Danger still lurked in the questions Catherine had raised. Life would still throw challenges. But they'd face it together now. Not alone. Together. And that Caleb thought as sleep finally claimed him made all the difference. The week after the wedding brought snow again, heavy and relentless. Caleb and Danny worked together each morning, breaking ice on water troughs, feeding horses, checking fence lines. The boy had grown stronger these past weeks, his face fuller, his movements confident. "Caleb," Danny asked one morning as they hauled hay, "can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead." "Do you love Mama yet? Or are you still figuring it out?" Caleb paused mid-throw. Looked at this 7-year-old who asked questions most adults wouldn't dare. "I'm figuring it out, but I'm getting closer every day." What's it feel like when you figure it out? Don't rightly know. Never been good at naming feelings. But I reckon you know it when your day feels wrong if she's not in it. When you catch yourself thinking about her smile instead of your work. When protecting her matters more than protecting yourself. Danny thought about this. I think you already love her then. You just don't know it yet. Maybe so. And it's okay if you love her different than you loved Rebecca. Different doesn't mean less. Caleb stared at the boy. You're 7. How'd you get so wise? Mama says suffering either makes you bitter or makes you see things clear. I chose clear. Good choice. Inside, Eleanor taught Emma to bake bread. The little girl's hands worked the dough flour, dusting her nose. Her cough had vanished, color returned, strength rebuilt. She looked like any healthy 8-year-old, now not the half-starved ghost who'd arrived in the storm. Mama, when the baby comes, will you still have time to bake with me? Emma asked suddenly. Eleanor's hands stilled. What baby? The baby you and Caleb will make. That's what happens when people get married, right? They make babies. Eleanor's face flushed. That's not automatic. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't. But do you want it to happen? I don't know, sweetheart. It's complicated. Why? Because making a baby means. Eleanor struggled for words appropriate for an 8-year-old. It means being ready, emotionally, practically. It means knowing you can take care of another life. And Caleb and I were still learning how to be married. But you love him, don't you? I care about him very much. That's not what I asked. Eleanor looked at her daughter's serious face. I'm learning to love him. Is that good enough? I guess. But Mama, don't wait too long. Life's short. Papa taught us that. The words hit Eleanor hard. This child who'd lost her father, who'd nearly died herself, understood mortality better than most adults. You're right, baby. Life is short. That afternoon, Caleb received an unexpected visitor. Sheriff Tom Braddock rode up alone, his face grim. Eleanor tensed when she saw the badge memories of other lawmen coming with accusations. But Caleb went out to meet him calm. Sheriff? Caleb, need to talk to you. Private. They walked to the barn. Inside, Braddock removed his hat, turned it in his hands. You heard about Harrison Blake. What about him? He's dead. Found him this morning in his office. Looks like he shot himself. Caleb's gut tightened. Suicide. That's what it's meant to look like. But Harrison was left-handed. Gun was in his right hand. And his office had been searched, papers everywhere, drawers emptied. Someone was looking for something. The mine records. Catherine's evidence. That'd be my guess. Whatever Catherine sent to the territorial governor, it got someone scared enough to kill. And Blake, he was part of the cover-up. Had his hands dirty deep. Braddock met Caleb's eyes. You need to know this puts you and your family at risk. You married Eleanor Hayes. You're protecting the woman whose husband first tried to expose this. That makes you a target. What are you saying? I'm saying be careful. Lock your doors at night. Keep a gun close. Don't go anywhere alone. Braddock's voice dropped. And I'm saying if anything happens to me, there's an envelope in my desk. All the evidence I've gathered. Names, dates, payoffs. Everything. You make sure it gets to someone who'll use it. Why are you telling me this? Because you're one of the few men in this territory I trust. Because you did right by Eleanor when everyone else failed her. And because if they come for you, you deserve to know why. The sheriff put his hat back on. Watch your back, Caleb. These men have killed 17 miners. They won't stop at 18. After Braddock left, Caleb stood in the barn, fear coiling in his stomach. He'd known there was danger. Known marrying Eleanor meant stepping into something dark. But knowing abstractly and facing reality were different things. Inside, Eleanor saw his face read the news before he spoke. What happened? Harrison Blake's dead. Sheriff thinks it's murder made to look like suicide. Eleanor's legs went weak. She sat down hard. Because of what Catherine found. Yeah. So it's starting. The people who killed Michael, who killed 17 men, they're cleaning up loose ends. Seems that way. And we're loose ends now too. Caleb knelt in front of her, took her hands. I won't let anything happen to you. To the children. I promise. You can't promise that. Michael couldn't promise it either. And he's dead. Michael was alone. We're not. We've got people now. Martha, Catherine, Sarah, the sheriff. We're not fighting this alone. They'll come after Catherine next, after anyone who knows too much. Then we protect each other, all of us, together. Eleanor looked at him, fear naked on her face. I can't lose you. I just got you. I can't. Her voice broke. Caleb pulled her close, held her tight. You won't lose me. I'm careful. I'm smart. And I've got too much to live for now to take stupid risks. Danny appeared in the doorway. What's wrong? Why's Mama crying? Caleb and Eleanor exchanged glances. They'd promised honesty, no secrets. That meant the children deserved truth even when it was scary. Come here, son, Caleb said. You and Emma both. We need to talk. They gathered around the kitchen table, the four of them. Caleb explained simply, honestly. About Michael's investigation. About the mine collapse. About men who'd rather kill than face justice. Are we in danger? Danny asked, voice steady despite his fear. Possibly. We don't know yet, but we're being careful. What do? We stay close to home. Don't go anywhere alone. Lock doors at night. Pay attention to anything strange. And we trust each other. If something feels wrong, you say so, immediately. No waiting, no being brave. You speak up. Emma's eyes were wide. I don't want anyone to die. No one's going to die, Eleanor said firmly, finding strength for her children. We're going to be smart and careful, and we're going to protect each other. Promise? Emma whispered. Eleanor looked at Caleb. He nodded slightly. Promise, Eleanor said. That night, Caleb loaded his rifle, placed it by the front door, checked every window latch, every door lock, made sure the children knew what to do if something happened, where to hide, how to get out, where to run. In bed, Eleanor lay awake listening to the house. Every creak, every wind gust made her flinch. Around midnight, she gave up trying to sleep, pulled on her robe, went downstairs, found Caleb in his chair by the dying fire rifle across his lap. Couldn't sleep either, she asked. Keep thinking I hear things. Probably just wind, but maybe not. She sat on the arm of his chair. This isn't what you signed up for. When you brought us home, you didn't know it would mean this. Wouldn't change it, even knowing. Liar. I'm not lying. Yeah, this is scary. Yeah, I wish we weren't in danger. But I'd rather be scared with you here than safe and alone. Rather risk everything for something real than risk nothing and have nothing. Eleanor's hand found his. I love you. The words hung in the air between them. First time either had said them. First time either had dared. Caleb looked up at her. You sure? I'm terrified. I'm worried sick about my children. I'm angry at the world for being this cruel. But yes, I love you. I think I've loved you since you broke through Murphy's door and said, get your things. Since you carried Danny through that blizzard. Since you stayed up all night with Emma when she was dying. Since you stood in that church and defended me to people who hated me. She cupped his face. You're the best man I've ever known. And I love you. Caleb's throat worked. I love you too. Didn't want to. Tried not to. Seemed safer. But I do. Love you. Love your children. Love this family we've built. Eleanor slid into his lap, wrapped her arms around him. They held each other in the firelight. Two people who'd survived hell, separately choosing to face whatever came together. Make love to me, Eleanor whispered. Not because we're married. Not because it's expected. Because I need to feel alive. Need to feel something besides fear. Caleb searched her face. You sure? I'm sure. He stood, lifted her in his arms, carried her upstairs. In his room, their room now. They came together tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Two wounded people finding healing in each other's arms. Finding hope. Finding love that had crept up on them when they weren't looking. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Eleanor's head on Caleb's chest, his arms around her. That was, Eleanor started. Yeah. We should have done that sooner. Probably. She smiled against his skin. I like being married to you. I like being married to you too. They drifted toward sleep, safe in each other's arms, fear pushed back by love and warmth, and the simple miracle of not being alone. 2 weeks passed quietly. Too quietly. The town remained tense, waiting for something. Catherine went about her business with armed guards her husband hired. Martha visited Eleanor regularly, never alone. The community that had gathered for the wedding now gathered for protection. Then one night Danny woke to voices outside. Men's voices low and angry. He crept to the window, saw torches. 4 men on horseback, faces obscured by bandanas. He ran down the hall, burst into Caleb and Eleanor's room. There's men outside, with torches. Caleb was up instantly, pulling on pants. How many? Such 4, maybe 5. Eleanor, take the children into the root cellar, the one under the kitchen. Lock yourselves in. Don't come out until I say. I'm not leaving you. You're protecting our children. Go, now. Eleanor gathered Emma, grabbed Danny's hand. They ran downstairs. Behind them, Caleb loaded his rifle, checked his pistol. Stepped onto the porch. The men sat their horses in the yard, torches casting flickering shadows. One rode forward, James Murphy, face uncovered, full of righteous anger. Thornton, we need to talk. It's the middle of the night. Talk in the morning. Can't wait that long. You've become a problem. You and that woman you married. Stirring up trouble. Getting people to ask questions about things that are settled. The only thing settled is that 17 men died and nobody paid for it. Those men died in an accident, nothing more. You keep telling yourself that. Doesn't make it true. Another rider moved forward. Caleb recognized him. Samuel Hendricks, part owner of the mine. We came to make you an offer, Thornton. A generous one. $50,000. All you have to do is take your wife and leave. Tonight. Go somewhere far away and forget everything you've heard. Forget Catherine's accusations. Forget the past. Just go. And if I refuse, then accidents happen. Fires start. People get hurt. Children especially. The threat hung in the cold air. Caleb's finger moved to his rifle's trigger. You threaten my children, you'd better be ready to die for it. There's 4 of us. 1 of you. You might get 1 of us. Maybe 2 if you're lucky. But we'll get you. And then we'll get your family. Maybe. Or maybe the sheriff's already been told you were coming. Maybe he's on his way now with deputies. Maybe you're the ones in danger here. Hendricks laughed. Braddock's in our pocket. Has been for years. Why do you think nothing ever came of Michael Hayes's accusations? Why do you think the investigation went nowhere? Because you're good at covering your tracks. But you missed something. Catherine found it, sent it to the territorial governor, and the governor's not in your pocket. Catherine's problem has been handled. Caleb's stomach dropped. What did you do? Nothing yet. But accidents happen. House fires especially. Shame if her whole family burned. Her husband, their 3 children. Terrible tragedy. Rage flooded through Caleb. You hurt that woman or her family, and I'll hunt you down myself. Every single one of you. I don't care how long it takes. Big talk from a man who's outnumbered. A new voice cut through the darkness. He's not outnumbered. Sheriff Braddock rode into the yard, 6 deputies with him, all armed, all ready. Gentlemen, Braddock said pleasantly. Funny meeting you here, middle of the night, with torches, making threats. That's conspiracy to commit murder, terroristic threatening, maybe arson intent. Add it to your other crimes, the ones Catherine documented, the ones the territorial governor is very interested in. Hendrix's face went white. You can't prove anything. Can't I got a dozen statements from miners who were ordered to work in unsafe conditions. Got payoff records showing bribes to inspectors. Got testimony from the inspector you bribed who suddenly grew a conscience. Braddock smiled coldly. Got you. Murphy kicked his horse forward. You're bluffing. Try me. Ride out of here now and I'll arrest you peacefully. Give you trials lawyers all that legal courtesy. Or start something and my deputies put you down like rabid dogs. Your choice. The four men looked at each other, looked at the armed deputies, looked at Caleb standing on his porch rifle ready. Hendrix wheeled his horse. This isn't over. Yeah, it is, Braddock said. You just don't know it yet. The men rode off into darkness, torches fading. Caleb lowered his rifle, legs suddenly shaking. Braddock dismounted, walked up to the porch. You can tell your family it's safe now. Caleb went inside, opened the cellar door. Eleanor, children, it's over. Come up. They emerged slowly. Eleanor, pale children clinging to her. Emma was crying. Danny looked angry. Who were those men? Danny demanded. Bad men who wanted to scare us, Caleb said. But they failed. Braddock tipped his hat to Eleanor. Ma'am, sorry you had to go through that. We've been watching your place for days. Knew something was coming, just didn't know when. Is Catherine safe? Eleanor asked. Got deputies with her family too. Everyone's safe. He looked at Caleb. But they're right about one thing. This isn't completely over. We can arrest them, charge them, but trials take time. Juries can be bought. Evidence can disappear. You need to stay vigilant until this is truly finished. How long? Months maybe, year at most. The governor's serious about cleaning up corruption, but it takes time. After the sheriff left, the family huddled together in the living room. Dawn came slowly, painting the windows gray. None of them had slept. None of them tried. I'm scared, Emma whispered. Me too, Eleanor admitted. But we're together. We're safe. And we're not running. Why not? Danny asked. If we left, went somewhere new, they couldn't find us. Caleb knelt in front of the boy. Because running means they win. Means 17 dead men never get justice. Means every other family living in fear never gets free. Sometimes you have to stand and fight. Not with guns. With truth. With courage. With refusing to let evil people control your life. But what if they come back? Then we face them again. And again. As many times as it takes. Because we're Thorntons now. All of us. And Thorntons don't run. Eleanor's eyes filled. When did I become a Thornton? The day we got married. The day you chose this family, this life, this fight. She nodded, pulling her children close. Then we're Thorntons, and we don't run. The weeks that followed brought changes. Hendrix and Murphy were arrested along with 3 others. The territorial governor sent investigators. The town fractured, some defending the accused, others demanding justice. But slowly, surely, truth emerged. Catherine's evidence was irrefutable. The bribed inspectors confessed. Miners testified about unsafe conditions. The cover-up unraveled thread by thread. Michael Hayes's name was cleared publicly. The town held a memorial service for all 17 men who'd died. Eleanor stood with Caleb, Danny, and Emma, listening to her late husband being called a hero. Being honored for trying to save lives. He'd be proud of you, Caleb whispered. Proud you didn't give up. Proud you survived. Proud of the life you've built for your children. He'd be grateful to you. For taking care of us. For finishing what he started. We finished it together. Spring came late but certain. Snow melted into rushing streams. Green appeared on hills. Calves were born. Life renewed itself as it always did. Emma's birthday arrived in April. She turned 9, surrounded by friends. Real friends who came to celebrate without shame or whisper. Danny helped Caleb build her a wooden dollhouse, painstakingly crafted over weeks. Eleanor baked cake with flour they could afford now, with sugar bought freely with abundance they no longer took for granted. "Make a wish," Eleanor told Emma as candles flickered. Emma closed her eyes, thought hard, blew out all 9 candles. When asked what she wished for, she smiled. "Can't tell. But it already came true anyway." In May, the trials concluded. Hendricks got 20 years for manslaughter and fraud. Murphy got 10 for conspiracy and bribery. Others received various sentences. Justice imperfect but real. The town held a gathering to honor the 17 men, to apologize to their families, to try to make amends for years of injustice. Eleanor attended with Caleb, accepted apologies with grace, offered forgiveness where she could. Martha approached her afterward. "I don't expect you to forgive us completely. Don't expect you to forget. But I hope you can stay. Hope you can be part of this community as we try to be better." Eleanor looked at this woman who'd brought food to her wedding, who'd shown up when it mattered. "I'm staying. This is home now." That evening, sitting on their porch, watching sunset paint the mountains gold, Eleanor leaned against Caleb's shoulder. Inside, children laughed over some game. Horses nickered in the barn. Life hummed around them, ordinary and precious. "Are you happy?" Eleanor asked. "Yeah, I am. Are you?" "More than I ever thought I'd be again." She took his hand, placed it on her stomach. "And I'm pregnant." Caleb froze. How long have you known?" "Couple weeks. Wanted to be sure before I told you." "How do you feel about it?" "Terrified, excited, grateful, all of it." She looked up at him. "Your thoughts?" Caleb's hand stayed on her stomach, wonder on his face. "I'm scared. Lost Rebecca this way. Lost my son before he took his first breath. But I'm also—" His voice caught. "I'm happy. Really happy. Didn't think I'd get this chance again. It could be dangerous. I'm not young anymore. Things could go wrong. Or they could go right. We could have a healthy baby. Could add to this family. Could—" He stopped. "I choose hope. Choose believing in good things. You taught me that." Eleanor kissed him softly. "I love you." "I love you too." Inside, Danny called out, "Caleb, Emma won't share the checkers." "That's because Danny cheats," Emma yelled back. Eleanor laughed. "You should probably referee." "Probably." But they sat a moment longer, holding each other, feeling the life growing between them. Feeling the life they'd built around them. Feeling the impossible miracle of surviving hell and finding heaven on the other side. The years that followed brought joys and sorrows, as all years do. Eleanor's pregnancy progressed smoothly despite her fears. In November, she delivered a healthy son. They named him Michael Caleb, honoring the past and the present both. Danny grew tall and strong, taking over more ranch work each year. Emma developed a gift for healing, helping her mother tend sick neighbors. The baby brought laughter back into corners of the house that had been silent too long. The town continued changing. New families moved in. Old grudges faded. Catherine became mayor, determined to build something better. Martha ran the school. Sarah opened a restaurant where widows and struggling families ate free. On winter evenings, the Thornton family gathered by the fire. Caleb carved toys for the baby. Eleanor rocked in the chair Michael Hayes had made nursing their son. Danny and Emma played checkers, still arguing about cheating. Sometimes Eleanor would look around that room and remember the freezing shack where they'd divided scraps. Remember believing they'd die that way, hungry, cold, forgotten. Then she'd look at her husband, her children, her warm home, her full table. Look at the impossible distance they'd traveled, from despair to hope, from death to life, from alone to family. "What are you thinking?" Caleb would ask, catching her expression. "Just remembering where we started. And being grateful we didn't stop there." He'd pull her close, kiss her forehead. "Me too." The past never truly left them. Michael's memory lived in Emma's kindness. Danny's determination, the chair Eleanor rocked in. Rebecca's memory lived in Caleb's careful tenderness, his fierce protectiveness, his capacity for second chances. But the past didn't own them anymore, didn't define them. They'd taken their broken pieces and forged something new, something stronger. Something that proved love could bloom in ashes, that families could be built from strangers, that courage meant choosing hope when despair seemed easier. On the anniversary of the day Caleb broke through Murphy's door, the day everything changed. Eleanor found him in the barn, grooming Thunder. She leaned against the stall watching him work. "1 year ago today, you saved my life." Caleb looked up. "We saved each other." "No, you saved me, saved my children, gave us a future when we had none. You gave me a reason to live again, gave me purpose, family, love. We're even." She moved closer, wrapped her arms around him. "I never thanked you properly. For seeing us in that shack. For not walking away. For choosing us when you didn't have to. Eleanor, Let me finish." She looked up at him. "You're the best man I've ever known. The best husband. The best father to my children. The best partner I could have dreamed of. And I thank God every day that you broke through that door. That you said, 'Get your things.' That you brought us home." Caleb held her tight emotion thick in his throat. "I love you. Love our family. Love this life we've built. And I'd do it all again. Every hard moment, every scary night, every fight, all of it, for this." They stood together in the barn winter sun slanting through gaps in the boards. Stood where a year ago he'd taught Danny to groom horses. Where children had learned they mattered. Where broken people had learned to trust again. Outside, Danny called that dinner was ready. Emma sang in the kitchen. Baby Michael cried and then quieted, likely picked up by his brother. The sounds of family, of home, of love that had survived impossible odds. Caleb and Eleanor walked hand in hand toward the house, toward their children, toward the life they'd fought for and won, toward every tomorrow they'd face together, because they'd learned the truth that only survivors know, that the human heart is stronger than any storm. That love is worth every risk. That family isn't just blood, but choice. And that sometimes the greatest courage is simply refusing to give up. They'd walked through blizzards and faced down killers. They'd buried the past and built the future. They'd taken scraps and made feasts. They'd transformed desperation into abundance, fear into faith, strangers into family. And standing together on their porch watching snow begin to fall on land they owned free and clear. Watching children play without hunger or fear, they understood what they'd truly accomplished. They'd survived. They'd healed. They'd loved. And that was everything.